The Louie Bellina Show. Lunchtime Tuesday, second hour together. Lunchtime thanks to Rudy's Barbecue. The Louie Bellina Show, always presented by CC Electric. Here in our lunch hour, the college football notebook. The signs that the offseason has truly begun. There's, call it topics, the usual coaches on the hot seat, key players too. There's just these, today I went, oh, the college football offseason is here. We'll discuss shortly here. At 12:30 and 5, a listen in Bucky McMillan from his Kentucky Media Day tonight. Man, beat the hell out of Kentucky, eh? Let's make this March to March simplified. Beating Kentucky tonight would shortcut my anxiety. Beating Kentucky tonight would fast forward things. Lose Kentucky, beat LSU. You think 2 wins would do it. The committee always seems to be wonky with tournament wins. If you truly want to sleep well on Selection Sunday, I would argue in my own head that, okay, lose Kentucky, beat LSU, go get 2 tournament wins. And then Selection Sunday can be a celebration and not wait for the reveal and sit there kind of like, So anyway, beat the hell out of Kentucky, eh? I'm on board with that. 979-693-1150. You know, I always say text, because I'm pro-texting. It's what the kids do. You can call me on the D4 Land Services hotline. Today, someone's going to have a chance to register, make the finals. You got a shot. Creed tickets, thanks to Grahalski Sausage Company. We've been doing all this for a while. And we're going to do multiple, not just one. And when it's time to call, you'll use the D4 Land Services hotline number, which is 979-693-1150. Most guests of the Louie Bellina Show join me on that D4 Land Services hotline number. And if you ever need your land fixed up, land cleared, land excavated, D4landservices.com. If you need forestry, mulching, pond construction, metal buildings, D4landservices.com. Remember that website. Man, you ever need a custom metal building from the ground up? D4landservices.com. College football notebook. NFL draft. We're basically almost done with the pre-draft. We had Senior Bowls. We had the Combine. We got pro days left, then it's the NFL draft. Jordan Reed, ESPN.com, one of the true, not just guys that does draft for them, but actual draft experts. He did an updated post-Combine 2-round mock. Here's what you want to know. KC Concepcion, San Francisco 49ers, first round at 27. Cassius Howell, New England Patriots at 31. Chase Basantes, second round, number 39, Cleveland Browns. Basically for him, Jordan Reed, and he's one of the good ones. Nothing changed at all for Concepcion and Howell. 0. Basantes moved way up. So according to Jordan Reed, in the first 2 rounds, 3 Aggies with Concepcion, and all the ESPN guys, you know, they don't think they do copy pasta of each other's work, but none of them have KC going past San Fran. Like, there's no chance he goes past San Fran. And then Howell at 31 is pretty consistent, which doesn't have a lot of leeway if 31 is projection for him. And Basantes, stock way up, according to Jordan Reed. That's in his updated 2-round mock. And the only other things of interest to me, they have the Texans kind of trading out of the first, acquiring more picks, like second-round picks. And they have them going like all O-line almost in the second round. Blake Miller, the offensive tackle from Clemson. Emmanuel Pregnon, the guard from Oregon. And he was a transfer, if I remember right. He was one of the number 1 transfer O-linemen and ended up at Oregon. But O-line for Texans, but all second-round O-line, even trading out of the first. Because that is kind of a thing. You could trade out of that. Texans were at 22, I think, something like that. And teams that want to trade back up because they got to have that guy. So, yeah, Another player that you could see stock up in all the updated post-combine mocks, Mesidor, which I kind of knew he was, the edge rusher from Miami. His stock seems to went up. They got the Lions taking him at 17. And yeah, just a couple of things that caught my attention. Fernando Mendoza with the number 1 pick in the 2026 draft. The Las Vegas Raiders pick quarterback Indiana, Fernando Mendoza. But, that's not going to shock anyone. That's a player you kind of go with deserves. He did everything, it appears, the right way. Now, I've been talking today. Signs that the college football offseason, we've known there's no games and talk of spring football, but there's a ritual and a cycle, and we've been living a little bit in it with the whole, the X for every top 25 team. The key player, the key game, the swing game, the most pivotal, the biggest unit. CBSSports.com, ESPN.com does it, but I saw yesterday hot seats coaches, and the hottest of hot seats, we want this to work. It was by tiers. It's going to cost us progress needed. Retirement watch, which is my favorite category. And they even did the group of G6 hot seats. Oh, ESPN.com did it. That is your off-season universe. Oh, that was ESPN.com. CBSSports.com. Way too early, and that's what they said. I believe in the way. No, they just did way too early bowl projections as spring football starts. Signs that the offseason is upon us. The hottest seat of them all, I think there's no doubt, is Mike Norvell. I'm stunned he's still at Florida State. It's got to be a money thing. Florida State, according to some, but not me, got hosed out of the college football playoff. Quarterback goes down. I don't think they're the team that has that record without their quarterback. But that's just me. That's one of the few times I agreed with the committee. Most of the time I think they're morons. But since then, they've been a train wreck. They've been an embarrassment. I don't know why he's still there. So he's in the hottest of hot. There's like 4 coaches in the hottest of hot, but Mike Norvell's seat is special. There's an extra, is it the ghost, death, habanero, hot of a pepper that only grows under a mountain that is available to be plucked once a year, death level? That's the hot seat of Mike Norvell. Luke Fickell, Wisconsin, that has not worked out. Man, that seemed like a perfect hire. Seriously. That seemed like a perfect hire. And it was controversial at the time. They could have went with another Wisconsin guy and Jim Leonhard. Nope, they decided it was time to break the cycle of Wisconsin guys, and this has been a disaster. Dave Aranda at Baylor. They have a new AD. Boy, do they have a new AD. And it just hasn't happened. Dave Aranda is one of the most genius defensive minds of our lifetime. Question mark. And they're 105th in points allowed during the past 2 years. How can Baylor not have an NIL? Don't they got money? Don't they have like old Dr. Pepper money buried in the ground somewhere? Don't they have like stashes of cult money hanging around? You just dig it up and use it. And Mike Loxley at Maryland. That's your 4 hottest of hot. Off-season time, baby. We want this to work as a fascinating category because the first name, I completely understand. It was the second name. Bill O'Brien, Boston College Eagles, is the second name. Why do they want it? I didn't know, is Bill O'Brien like an alum? Did he play there? I don't know why they want it to work so bad, but Bill O'Brien has one of the more fascinating careers where at some point, his public perception's unlikable, but he actually kind of has won. He won at Penn State. He won at Houston Texans. The Texans, he kept winning. He just was the worst GM in the history of the NFL, which tainted his coaching time there. Now, here's the first name under the we want this to work. Shane Beamer, South Carolina. They do. They really do. They, without a doubt, I get that. But last year, wow, 4-8, and things just. But they kept Lenore Sellers. They kept Dylan Stewart. They added Kendall Browse. I mean, you could tell they're giving money. They're investing. How much did it cost just to keep those two players in Sellers and Stewart? They're giving him every chance to win. So I get that. It's going to cost us was the most fun category. And there's only one coach. Lincoln Riley. They pay him so much. His contract to steal him, quote unquote, finger quote, steal him from OU. They had to give him everything he wanted. So his contract is so brutal to try and get rid of him. And in 4 years, he did not win the Pac-12 or the Big Ten or make a college football playoff berth. Dun, dun, dun. Progress needed. Only one coach, Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State. Yeah. I almost put him in they want it to work. They really do. Retirement watch. Bill Belichick, Kirk Ferentz, Deion Sanders. And there was only one coach. I'm not going to go through every G6 they mentioned, but this one entertained me highly. Derek Mason. And I bring him up because, holy cow, how many coaching jobs and chances is he going to get? Because this is the third or fourth now, and it just doesn't seem to work out. Seems to have, I don't know. I don't follow his coaching arcs close enough to have much more commentary, but I'm like, Derek Mason still has a head coaching gig, and it still needs to work out. He's still on a seat that is warm. I guess he's at a point, though, his head coach so long he can no longer be a DC. I wonder if he's just destined to be on someone's. Okay, I'm pretty sure you saw, because anything that's Longhorn or Aggie tends to set off the raid warnings, right? Well, Mark Stoops joined the Texas staff as a special assistant. That's what I thought Derek Mason would be at this point. And there's a role from, that's what Gary Patterson did for a long time. And when you've got minds like that are undeniable, but maybe they're not meant to be head coaches, but after being so long coordinator with head coaching experience, they can't go back to being OCs and DCs. Maybe that special assistant consultant role is what they're destined to do. Collect fat checks and kind of control your own hours. Not sure. That's what I figured Derek Mason would be doing. And Mark Stoops joined the Texas staff yesterday. And that's a hell of a get for Sark. I'm just going to be straight up about that. I think that's an incredible get. Mark Stoops here in Aggie land is a meme. Because I know yesterday when I saw this, I think the number one joke was Aggie football legend Mark Stoops. Because, he was the head coach here for, you could say 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 3 hours, whatever. But that was the meme. Aggie football legend Mark Stoops has joined the Texas coaching staff as a special assistant to Steve Sarkisian. And when that went down, his time at Kentucky ended. You don't come back from that. The people at Kentucky are no longer invested in you. The BMAs, big money alums, are no longer invested in you. He was destroyed. And people, at one point, Mark Stoops was considered one of the top 10, 15, and then 20 coaches in all of college football because he went to a basketball school that had zero investment in football and won. He left Kentucky 82-80. Lou, he's a 500 coach. What are you talking about? At Kentucky. At Kentucky. At Kentucky. In the 13 years, he had 7 winning seasons. If you compare apples to apples, finishing with a winning record, spending 13 years at Kentucky, having 7 winning seasons in 13 years at Kentucky, is the equivalent of turning Gatorade to wine and Power bars to fish loaves. Okay? He was incredible for Kentucky. I don't know what that would have meant if he ever became the head coach at Alabama. But comparing apples to apples, he did God's work. He left as the winningest coach in Kentucky history, if you compare Kentucky to Kentucky. And then he's been coaching for more than 3 decades in total, with 13 years as the head coach at Kentucky. His defenses, some of the things he did there, his ability to identify defensive coaching assistants even. And, he's got talent, in other words. Great get for Sark, who fired his DC in the offseason, someone everyone else thought was pretty phenomenal, and just adds that knowledge and insight and input into his coaching staff. That was a great move by him. 979-693-1150. When we come back, more college football notebook, more signs of the college football offseason has begun for us. But I'll tell you something. Here on the Louis Bellina Show, we love college football. We do. I mean, we love college baseball. We love college softball. And we're falling in love with Bucky ball, even though it's testing our belief system for sure. This is the Louis Bellina Show. I'll be right back. This is the Louis Bellina Show from inside the Charles Schwab studio. In uncertain times, Charles Schwab remains invested in their clients by offering personalized guidance and clarity. And it's personalized because we got Mark Sim right here in College Station. And with Mark Sim being right here in College Station, walk through the door, shake a hand, look them in the eye, sit down, have a conversation. Not phone trees, not call centers, not being on hold for an hour. Nope. Personalized. Sit down. You can contact Mark Sim. Go get answers to your questions. Just go learn more at schwab.com/College Station. It's the Louis Bellina Show on The Zone.
Your home for Texas A&M football is Sports Radio 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. The Zone. The Zone.
Back to the college football notebook. A lot of talk, and it's off season, so it is time to have a lot of talk about, fix is a wrong word, but how do we put some rules into the wild, wild west of the transfer portal? Not NIL. Not NIL quite yet, because NIL is about lawsuits, government, and it's kind of beyond management at this time. A lot of coaches are saying that we need to reintroduce sitting out when you transfer. I don't think that you can bring it back in the way they want, that if you transfer, you sit out. Remember, we've already had legal challenges, and they went to court to get this kind of free agency. Now, I think that you can get a compromise. And the problem with the way this works is that a player can transfer 6 times in 6 years and play for 6 years. I think that if you were to, and it's the compromise solution I've had in my head, and it would curb what we have, the wild, wild west. But the first time a player transfers, he should be allowed immediately eligibility. Every time after that, he should have to sit out a year. So if you give the free first one, yes. After that, no. You should have to sit out a year. Allegedly, transferring was always supposed to be for a reason, not just because I want to play. And what we have is the admission of they're transferring for academic reasons. They're transferring for hardship reasons. And remember, they used to have to prove if they wanted immediate eligibility, they'd have to appeal to be immediately eligible. But we have ripped away that pretense. I would favor the compromise. To say every time you transfer, you have to sit out a year will never happen. I think the courts have made it clear that the players have rights. Well, I want to give them the first time free. But we now have players who 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th free. And how can that not be obvious to everyone that that's total garbage? That's what we need to get rid of. The baby steps towards an actual system is, can we get rid of the garbage first, the extremes, the abuses? And then we can work towards a reality-based system. But let's just start with the things that no one should really argue over. Should a player have the ability to transfer 7 times in 7 years? I think it's an easy no, because you're not transferring for academics. You're not, you're chasing, you're free. And that's not what it's supposed. I'll be honest with you. If we ever want to reach a point where we say, and I've talked about this for 2 decades now, to be clear. If we just want to come honest with each other and come up with a major called athlete. I've talked about this for 2 decades, and this exact same thing. Have a major called athlete, where you go to school and you major in being an athlete, where you actually have the program that has 30 hours, 70 hours, and you teach them how to be professional athletes, how to get into their leagues, how to conduct themselves, money, how to deal with agents. And I'm serious. These programs form them into how do you know that college athletes don't know they have to pay taxes on their NIL money? And you have states that are currently passing bills that you are a citizen of the state and you pay taxes like every other person in the state, but they're now giving exemptions to athletes to help in recruiting because athletes didn't know you pay taxes. Mississippi, I think, is the latest state that athletes don't pay taxes on NIL money. How do you feel if you live in the state of Mississippi, where you can't pay rent, you can't pay electric, where you're suffering to, make the bills meet our economy and everything, but athletes are getting paid, I'm going with low ball. This is even starter money, $150 to be a backup, and they're not even paying taxes, but you're paying for them to get their NIL. You get the system here, right? It's so stupid. It's absolutely shameful. But because athletes didn't know they paid taxes, how about we just have a major called athlete and prep them for their 3 or 4 years to move on to a future? Because part of the major of being an athlete is life after athlete 101, 201, 301, and 401. Because I have no problem with admitting that college athletics is a business, and these athletes are part of the business and preparing them for their life now as an athlete and their life after an athlete. There's no shame in that. This is $1 billion at stake. It's better than what we're doing now, I feel like. So if they want to major in athlete, and then they can minor in nuclear physicist, I don't care. And then everybody can be better for it, and you could actually regulate it better through that, I think. Anyway, 979-693-1150. My first step towards moving forward in any of this, I'll say it one more time and move on. Let's get rid of the dumb. Who's with me? Raise your hand. You should not be playing 7 years. And there's that player, I think he's at Montana this year, Montana State, who's going for his 9th. You should not be able to play every year at a different school. I favor the compromise. First transfer is free. Every other one has to sit out a year. And I'm not going to do the thing where if you transfer within conference, it's 2 years. I don't want the old rules that were all weighted towards the school, towards the conferences that coaches abused. And when coaches had to give a release, it was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of. And that right now, a lot of this punishment, a lot of the dumb and stuff is because of the abuses that used to be in the system. Real quick, I said signs. Well, if you've been with me throughout the day here on the Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Thank you for hanging out with me, by the way, if you have been. But one of the things I said is I'm starting my eyeballs, signs that the offseason, the rituals and traditions, top 25 teams, X, Y, Z, and coaches' hot seats. Well, another one is way, way, way too early bowl picks and bowl predictions, which always make me chuckle. I'm not going to lie to you. Really, seriously, too. According to CBS Sports and their bowl predictions, Miami's going to win the ACC because they're the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. Texas is going to win the SEC. They're the number 2 seed. Indiana going to win the Big Ten again, the 3 seed. Notre Dame will be the 4 seed. Texas A&M is going to go to the ReliaQuest Bowl and face off against Penn State. I think the ReliaQuest is an 8-4 bowl. And they even write about this bowl matchup where Penn State going to be happy because they're making a bowl again, and A&M is not going to be happy to be here. And they're simple with their explanation of why A&M met 2 ranked opponents in 2025. They're going to face 5 in 2026. The end. That's their explanation. Here's their college football playoff field. I already told you 1, 2, 3, 4. Miami, Texas, Indiana, Notre Dame. Here's the rest. Ready? Texas Tech 5, Georgia 6, Oregon 7, Ohio State 8. I buy all 4 of them. Tech, Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, buy all 4. Here's where it gets a little weird for me. LSU 9, maybe but no. Ole Miss 10, no but maybe. USC 11, sell. Give me the option, sell. And Memphis at 12. Memphis should have been last year. I mean, that's not a heck no, but bold predictions, Cotton. They're one of the few, they might be the first I've seen that doesn't have A&M in the college football playoff, by the way. Quick timeout, come back, listen in. Bucky McMillan time from his Kentucky Media Day yesterday. This is the Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric, Monday on the Zone.
Make sure to get the podcast of Texags Live, the Louis Bellina Show, or Chip Howard Sports Talk Daily at zone1150.com and everywhere you get your podcasts.
The Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric, residential, commercial, and industrial services. What they do at CC Electric. Time now, listen in. Bucky McMillan, A&M basketball head coach, yesterday had his Kentucky Media Day.
How much cachet does Kentucky still bring, you think?
What, I don't even know what that word means. What is that?
Mystique.
I don't know. I've never looked at it like that, so you'd have to ask my players that, right? But, I've never looked at it that way, so I can't even answer that.
What would a win over Kentucky mean, do you think?
Be a big SEC win. I mean, we know what time it is, and we know we got to play good basketball. Like we know that, and all these matter. A great deal. You focus on winning, you usually don't win. You focus on executing, playing good basketball, it gives yourself the best chance to win. I know it's a redundant statement, but I'm going to add a third element into that. And I know this has been repetitive. I keep saying this, but we got to take it personal. And I don't just mean as a team, I mean as an individual player. Like we got to. I wrote something on the board last game. Hoopers hoop, winners win. Never more important than March, right? You don't remember a March Madness when they show one shining moment. They don't show some great play that was ran. They show some great players stepping it up. And March, the great players got to step it up. And so if we do those 3 things, execute, do the things you're supposed to do to be successful, and our great players step it up, it gives you a great chance to do well.
Do you feel like you ever have to, at this point, maybe juggle lineups or something like that for some of the guys that are maybe not producing to the level?
I think so. I think you're going to have to get guys on the floor. I think you got to get guys on the floor that are going to win that matchup that night, whatever that means. That could be lineups, that could be minutes, but we gotta win some of these lineups, particularly tomorrow at this guard position. They got 3 really good guards.
So, what do you want to prove and see this last week?
I don't want to say wins because I that like I said, is that good basketball results in that taking care of itself a lot of the times. Okay, now we're not the only team in the SEC trying to win. We're not the only team with good players, but I want to play our best basketball down the stretch. I do. I mean, that's very important. These last 2 games, and then head into March, and I want our players to really understand that, and I've mentioned this, that when you're in the off season and you're in the gym by yourself, or when you're growing up and you're in high school or you're in junior high, you're in the off season dreaming of March. When you're in the gym counting down 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. You can't be here in March dreaming about the off season. You can't be in March dreaming about the off season. I don't think we have that going on. But I want to remind these guys that came from all over the world that this is what they dreamed about, and this is what they worked for, and just don't have any regrets. Oh.
You told us last week how you kind of really challenged your guys to lock in for 1 week. Even though y'all lost on Saturday, do you feel like that buy-in and that lock-in has been there?
I think the lock-in's been really good as a team. You don't see any. I still believe we play as hard as, I don't like giving bulletin board material that we're the hardest playing team in college basketball for the next group to show. See what they say? And now they amp their stuff up, right? But I think when you watch our team play, you're not going to see many teams that play as hard as we do consistently, play together. I want our guys to buy into the belief in themselves as players. I want them to have that belief in themselves in these big moments that they can rise to the occasion like they have so many times. And I know it's a very repetitive deal, but this time of year, we got to have guys rise up. Like we have at times, but even more important this time of year, not just as a team, not just with execution, not just with playing hard, but hey, I've worked my whole life when I have this open shot right here to knock this thing down. Now it's time to step up here with the courage and the conviction that I've worked for this and let it rip.
You talk about the players rising up. It seemed like Pop rose up in those last 5 minutes on Saturday, but just were there anything that you saw that he could take from that to try and maybe extend that through the first 35 going forward?
I thought Pop played the best game I've ever seen him play last game. People won't understand that. I grabbed him at halftime. I don't even know if he had scored. I told him, look, man, you've had games you played, scored 30 points in games. That's the best game you've ever played. His effort and tenacity and heart was winning basketball. Like, he was out there on a mission. And, it takes players sometimes, particularly coming back from injury, it takes players in a new program to be all in. The guys that I play the most are guys I feel that are all in. Pop was all in last game. He was all in. And I don't even know how many he scored. I don't care. I'd care that dude was out there fighting. He was in the octagon and he fought. And so that's going to help him get on the floor more for sure. But when you do that, your offense just kind of comes naturally to you.
This is y'all's first Saturday, Tuesday turnaround in a while. Does the preparation change when it's this late in the season? Do you maybe practice lighter when it's that quick of a turnaround, or is it just, not that bad since it was a afternoon game?
Good question. We actually went pretty hard there. We were lighter yesterday. We watched some tape and shot. We went really hard. I think the biggest thing is when you have short turnaround this time of year, you got to get body right, game plan, all that, but you got to get over the last one. It's like Middleton talked to our team after last game and said, being in the league, what you learn is that, hey, after a game, you got to fix it and move on. Fix it and move on, right? And some of the things that we did wrong, there wasn't a lot of mental things that we did wrong in the Texas game. We need to fix those and move on. And that's been our deal because we know the magnitude of these games coming up here. And we knew the magnitude of the last game. I don't want to negate that. Like, everybody knew the magnitude of all these. But in a short turnaround, that's more than anything. You can't be caught up on the last one.
Is that pre-planned for Chris to talk with you guys, and just what do you think that meant to your players to hear from a guy like that?
Yeah, it was great talk. I couldn't be in there for it. We were doing media and stuff, but that was the message. Someone recorded it for me. I thought it was great. They had a run here where they lost several in a row, and then they got rolling. We're not in that spot. We hadn't lost. We won 2 and lost these at Arkansas, then lost versus Texas. But those guys know what it takes, obviously, in this league. And we still got this awesome opportunity right here, right in front of us. We got a chance to get to 11 wins in the league. In a league that's like, you never know. 11 wins can get you. There's an outside chance to get you a double bye, right? So, you got to look at the opportunity right here. Like, hey, we're in a great position. We got to fix what we can do, and we got to move on.
I don't know if we've asked you this in a while, but how's McKenzie doing with his progress? And is there any chance, like if y'all made a deep run or anything, that he could come back, or is it totally ruled out that he'll come back for the season? Yeah,
he's out of the season. Yeah, he can't come back. Yeah, he's physically, he just started doing his rehab. Yeah.
And how's he doing?
He's doing great. He's up right now. He's doing it up there, up north and Northeast. He's coming back here this week. You were texting last night a little bit, you gotta love him. He's a winner, and we could use him this time of year. He knows that, but he's still with us.
And is there any chance he could come back next season, or do you know if he?
Yeah, he can come back next season.
Set on going to the NBA.
Well, yeah, I mean, he can come back for sure next season. He's not going to go to the NBA unless he was healthy enough to perform well in workouts where his draft status would be where he wanted it to be.
From the outside, like, how do you sort of view UK season? I know in November, December, I think Wildcat fans were ready to fire Mark Pope, and all of a sudden they're pretty safe at large. NCAA tournament team.
I mean, they're good. They're talented. I mean, they had the preseason player of the year on their team. They got great guard play. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they got really good players, and he does a good job with them for sure. I mean, I think they were ready to fire him. They had some injuries. Some guys were out. I think that they're good, and I think in this league anybody can beat anybody. We know that, and I hold judgment. I mean, everybody's at one point wants to fire this guy or fire that guy, then turn around and they look up and they're in the Final Four. So anybody in our league is capable of getting it going, and they dang sure are.
Look, I've heard speculation. People say that this looks like a tired team, and that's why they're not shooting the three-pointers as well as they did earlier in the year. Does that hold any water in your opinion?
I mean, I think everybody this year's tired, but I've never had teams this time of year that hadn't shot the ball well. I mean, that's just everybody's going to have some fatigue. I know that. I don't think we should be any more tired than other teams because we use a deep bench. Our numbers are all measured through our system. We use ConnectSign, and our number loads are actually lower than some of the teams we're playing. So, there's something to that. I do think that scouting, there's something to us, managing that right, and I think we have. I think more than anything else that there's ebbs and flows of the season. If our team was tired, I wouldn't see in practice some of our guys really, really shoot it well at times and not shoot it as well the next day. I do think that guys are getting covered tighter because they know the strengths and weaknesses of players. We didn't have any problem at Oklahoma shooting the ball, and we may have one of we didn't have any problem versus Missouri shooting it. We're shooting threes well, so there's ebbs and flows. Hopefully the flow goes up in this next game. We make 15 threes.
Just from maybe a mental standpoint, how do you balance kind of talking to your guys about, like you said, rising to the occasion, but at the same time, maybe not trying to overthink or overcomplicate things?
Yeah, that's a great point, and that's a really good point. But I constantly mention this, and it's like, do you mention this every March to your team? Like as it approaches March, it becomes more of that kind of deal. I do, because I don't want anyone to be caught off guard when the game becomes that bone-on-bone game late, because that's just every deal you're going to watch March. It becomes more of a bone-on-bone game, right? But you don't want to put pressure on your players. That's not what it is. You just want them to know that when it becomes that game, they wouldn't be here if they couldn't play in that game. And we've had games like that where we have really rose to the occasion. And guess what? In the SEC, guess what? There's two great teams out there. One of those teams is going to rise to it, or those players are going to rise to it, or the other team, right? So maybe we really stepped it up late in that Oklahoma. Maybe in that second half, Texas really kind of stepped it up, and they've made some great defensive plays and offensive plays. But it's just not going to be every night, or we'd win every game in the league, right? It's just kind of how it goes. But what we do have is a chance to get to 11 SEC wins. So that would mean that we're rising to it more than not, and winning these matchups more than not. And a lot of times those matchups, we're going to have a matchup tomorrow versus the preseason player of the year. And so we're really going to have to rise, up in those moments. And I think why we got the guys that are capable to, but I just want to give them the confidence that obviously they can do it, and let them know and have that in their mind what this is, so they're not caught off guard when it becomes there late in that game and it's a 2-point game and we got the ball with 2 minutes, what it's going to look like.
How do you think they're responding to that message? Do you feel like they're taking it in well this week?
I think so. I think in the Oklahoma game we were really good with the defense late in the game. I thought we were pretty good with the defense late in the game versus Texas. They actually made some pretty tough shots. Like, we had good defense and they made some tough shots. But They are athletes, and it is disappointing as an athlete when, hey, this guy gets you this game, and you got the guy that you want to come out on the right side of that every game. And if you didn't have that, we wouldn't be very good, right? But I think they know what it is. I think all our players know, they're veterans. They've been a part of it. They know that we're not going to win just because we run up and down the floor tomorrow. We're not going to win just because we run a nice inbounds play. We're going to win because our guys, we play well. And individual players, that they play some good A-plus basketball. Not going to be from everybody, but we need more guys playing some A-plus basketball than not.
Just wondering in your system, though, if the threes don't fall, is there any other way to sort of mathematically make the math work? Is it getting the line? Is there a fail-safe?
Yeah, well, first you want to get free throws and layups before you even shoot threes. I mean, that's the thing. You want free throws and layups before threes. And I think the last game, I wouldn't even say we lost the game from the three-point line. We're not going to win a lot of games. We'd say we're make 4 threes in the game, but we went 11 of 23 at the rim. 11 of 23 at the rim. You should be making your shots at the rim at a minimum 60%. So we missed 2 dunks. We missed several layups. We're fine from the free throw line. Over 80% is good. You're not going to make every three. We had some shooters that make some of the threes that they missed. We didn't get a lot of them. But these ones at the rim, you can't be off at the free throw line, at the rim, and from 3. We were one of the 3. We made free throws. We got to the free throw line, missed more layups than we need to, and obviously could have shot it better from 3, but not a ton of opportunities.
That was Bucky McMillan, A&M basketball head coach. Had the media day yesterday, the Kentucky media day, and you heard someone in there. He sounded like he's 108 and barely going to make it. Olin Buchanan of Texags. And coming up 1 o'clock, he'll sound like he's 109 and barely going to make it because he's going to join me inside the Charles Schwab studio. I'll be right back. We got to wrap up the lunch hour of the Louis Bellina Show. Lunchtime, thanks to Rudy's Barbecue. Man, Olin sounds old.
Blending Southern culture with college football.
You guys are awesome.
Music, sport commentary, and more. It's Marty and McGee.
Marty and McGee.
Saturday mornings from 6 to 9 on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.